I've seen few pieces of coffee gear really take the market by storm the way the Fellow Ode did when it was released a couple years ago. So I'm super stoked about this little update that Fellow did to the grinder. Here it is. We're just gonna do a quick unboxing and then talk performance. But before we do that, if you haven't done so yet, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a ton. I also did a review of the brand new Fellow Stag EKG Pro Studio, such a long name. I'll link that down in the description and right here so you can watch it in tandem with this guy. So if we lift the lid, what do we have here? Your normal papers, whatnot. Pretty simple box with not a lot of fluff in it. It does come with this little cleaning brush. I think the Gen 1 did as well. Desk is unnaturally high. So here it is, the Fellow Ode Gen 2. As you can tell, it still has that sleek design as the original Ode. The only thing that has really changed about it is this guy right here, the hopper. That brings us to our first major upgrade, which is capacity. The Gen 2 can now grind 100 grams at a time. That is a huge upgrade for those of us who like to batch brew at home and grind it using the Ode. Honestly, one of my favorite features, as it just makes it that much more convenient to never have to do incremental increases of coffee to the hopper. So that's a small thing, and it is the only outward design difference, but once we start looking at the inside, that's when the gold really comes out in this upgrade from Fellow. The first thing we'll touch on is cleanliness. The first less noticeable change is the cup is just a touch bigger, which helps a ton in cleanliness. So with my Gen 1 Ode, I actually went with the white color simply because I thought it looked better, but with this one, I opted for black because the white one just showed so much coffee grounds. But Fellow's done a ton to remedy that issue by adding an anti-static technology within the grinder itself that really helps contain the spread of those coffee grinds as they're coming out. With the Gen 1, I would always take a wet spoon and just stir the coffee. But I want to do an A/B test here with and without the wet spoon to see if that's even necessary anymore. Gentle beep as we plug it in. Nicely calibrated, chirping right away at 0. Here is no wet spoon. I forgot to mention that the funnel within the hopper now feeds the beans way more nicely, so there was no holdup of beans at the top, and that was super quick. Just like the Gen 1, it has the auto cutoff functionality, which is super nice. So I'm gonna use the little knocker here. Oh yeah, that's great. So there's not really anything on the rim at all, and nothing there. And the beautiful grind quality as with the Gen 1. Usually with the Gen 1, I would take it out and then put it back under and then just give it a couple more knocks to make sure we didn't have any leftover grounds. If I hit the knocker, we still have a little bit of coffee that comes out, but that's nowhere close to the Gen 1. I'm gonna set that sample aside, and now let's just do the wet spoon for good measure and see what happens. Right. If I knock after doing the spoon test, there's a lot less retention, I will say that. So if you really want to avoid having those few extra grounds trickle out, it might still be worth stirring with the wet spoon or using a spray bottle, but it's so little that I will probably just skip it with this iteration, and that might be my favorite thing about this grinder, honestly. I am enjoying the black version already, even the coffee grounds that I have gotten on here so far. I mean, I can barely see them, so I like the way the white one looks better, but simply for functionality, I went with the black this time. Now let's talk Burr upgrades. I'm not gonna go super in depth about the science of these burrs compared to the Gen 1 or the SSPs, but I will say with the Gen 1, you had a lot of people who sprung for those SSPs so they could get finer. These Gen 2 burrs do give you finer range for this grinder, but you're still not reaching that espresso range, which personally I'm totally fine with. If I'm brewing espresso, I want to use a dedicated espresso grinder. So knowing that this is my filter option and now has even finer filter options, it's just a great upgrade and I have no problems with it whatsoever. You obviously still can get this from Fellow with the SSP burrs, so if that's something you're interested in, then feel free. For me, I'm just gonna stick with this and use this for my filter coffees. So who is this guy right for? If you want, like I said, a great filter grinder, then I think this is an awesome option. I think it's best in class for the price, especially for that sub $500 mark. For $350, you get excellent grind quality, quietness, cleanliness, and obviously this excellent design. I really think that all those things combined make this pretty much unbeatable at the price point. I will say that I do have some opinions about home grinders in general. Namely, if you aren't brewing multiple methods at home, I really think that your money might be spent elsewhere. Say if you only brew drip at home and you never brew pour over, I would maybe just buy a better drip brewer and then have your local cafe, who likely has like an EK43, pre-grind the coffee. Then at home, you know you have great temperature control because you spent a little bit extra on your brewer. For me though, I brew multiple methods at home. I go between drip and pour over and AeroPress and whatever. So this is a great addition. It looks great. It's perfect on the counter. I really like it. Now, as a matter of should you upgrade if you have the Gen 1, I did. I don't know if that's justifiable for everyone. It might be a better idea to upgrade your burrs. Obviously, you don't get the anti-static technology, the new hopper, all that stuff, but it is compelling to maybe consider going to the Gen 2 burrs or the SSP burrs from the Gen 1. Obviously, I thought the new features were worth it, and I really wanted to move from the white to the black color, so I thought it was worth it to upgrade. So yeah, huge shout out to Fellow for listening to the consumer. I think pretty much all of the issues I had with this grinder have been addressed, and that's just the mark of a truly excellent company, so thank you, Fellow. For all of you out there, I would really go and support them as they are making beautiful, great products, and like I said, they do listen to people and accept feedback. So thank you so much for watching this entire video. If you enjoyed it, I would really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. And like I said, I do have a review out on the Fellow Stag EKG Pro Studio in the description down below. I'll catch you on the next one.